Okay, let's give it a go. I have 1 success this time.
Yeah, you kind of get an idea. Okay, maybe if that one falls and you sort of start giving orders, not very precisely. It's just sort of like, oh, I guess that one over there, if it were to explode or whatever,
Okay.
right?
So then I got the spot, and I'll just start setting up then.
Yeah, endurance and body and strength check for everybody else. Again, no problem for Harmon. And I guess no one for Spencer. Yeah, Spencer. Again, you get the rhythm with using gravity because some of this stuff are on high shelves, and so you start smashing them. Now, third round, are you gonna keep smashing or are you gonna start setting up? Are you gonna set it off?
I'm gonna start setting it off. I'm going to go ahead and cut the fuses down to 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go ahead and light it.
Would this use mind and academics, perhaps?
Yes. And tactics.
At least I got that 4.
So, Gregory, it's you. Get ready to roll.
Okay, what should I roll here?
It will be your tactics and your mind, and maybe you can also throw academics as well if you have it.
Okay, let's do it. 1 success. Wow, that is the exact same roll.
Yeah, I think you got some timing. You sort of embed the grenades in the bats of powder, but you're like, oh, here we go.
Let's go ahead and use the flashback. I'm an elementalist. At some point, I have to receive that small bit of training of this is not what you do around dynamite. If this were like several hundred years in the future, this would be the training video segment where poor Jimmy on the video is like, this is what happens to Jimmy when he lights it. Oh god, the humanity, no. Yeah. Instead, it's the teacher going slowly over the diagrams going, and the explosive radius would be about this big, so don't be anywhere near it. By the way, you're a fire mage. This could happen at any time. Don't do this. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Hey, 2 successes.
You are going to just plant the first grenade in the middle of the room where the biggest powder is like, wow, this goes in. It's not going to burn. It's going to explode in my face. So maybe if I put it over here and it spreads, and yeah, let's be more judicious about this, right? And so you think you got it, but now it's time to run.
Yup, running time.
So everybody do an endurance check for running. What's your... And this is something that has to be a full run. This is not going to be 30 seconds. Yeah, because remember, people are piling up in the opening. So, yeah.
What was my body? It's D8. So I have 2d8 to this. And I guess I could add my strength to this because I'm trying to push past people, correct?
Yes.
Let's do it. So this is just for strength.
By the way, does your roar can only be used in combat?
No, you could definitely go ahead and use presence or scaring people. Like, I could also roll a scare check here if you'd like, as I run forward and scream, "Get the hell out of my way!" and see who listens.
No, first is a running, because you have to run before it starts exploding inside. And when you hit the door, you have to try to get people out of the way.
Yeah, part the waters. So yeah, scaring as a thing here would be the same roll, and we'll see what happens. Spencer's falling behind.
Oh dear.
So if somebody doesn't push or carry Spencer, he's oof.
Harmon, you have your endurance in this case to roll.
I'm just wondering why am I rolling endurance?
To run fast enough.
My normal run is 30, which is more than twice.
It's more we're barreling down a crowded hallway.
Yeah, you're pushing people around, and and doing things like that. So.
All right.
You got a 9.
So what I'd like to do here is I'd like to sacrifice one of my successes to give to Spencer in this case. I will literally drag Spencer with me so that he does not fall incredibly far behind.
Yeah.
But cool guys do look at explosions.
Safe
think of-
guys don't.
Yeah, the happening in Spencer is more like the crush of people, and you can see Spencer like a raccoon ball, like, and you sort of grab him, like, come here. Now do the presence, because you're going to need it.
All right, I'm going to hit my scare button, which is will, body, and presence, and my species. And it's not the best roll that I've ever seen. There's still a 6 in there, however, and it's still at least one success.
I'm gonna do a global, see how effective that was. Because you're basically a crowd. You're facing a crowd of people.
Yeah, that's fair. Have them roll as a crowd. That comes down to a tie.
Yeah, they already panicked. They're already not panicked, but they're already afraid. So you didn't panic them. You didn't push them to panic, but they're still afraid. So you have an opening, but it's still sort of crushing. So you're pushing and pulling, and guards are coming in, try to enforce and getting everybody. And then behind you hear boom, and a boom. When that happens, let's see how these people react to it.
Probably not well.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll.
Literally
3D8.
jumping out of the explosion as it happens at this point. I mean, I could have let the fuses go on longer.
And when people hear that, they start screaming, and one guy, like one of the guards, coming in and just grabs the musket from the guard, just pushing, pulling, and just reverses it and just slams the butt of the musket in this guard's face, like boom, we're running out of here. You hear all that outside, Duncan.
Yeah.
So this is happening, and you hear a bit of a rumbling, like oh, okay, and you see like a sea of people coming out of the armory, and just people were coming in, especially the guards. Now they're either getting swamped or running the other way. It's like I see people just running, and as people are running, more people are there, and somebody was shouting your direction, but now they're seeing that other people are running, so just fear is everywhere. It's just a general panic. It's
right.
like, and then there's fire where you're at. So now let's say that the fire is spreading. So let's make this a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You have one more pot.
I do.
You gotta give it a good lob straight into the middle of that so it spreads nicely.
Yeah.
I do. All right. We're gonna take the last pot. We're gonna throw it with my arm, aim it, and I remember a time, just to recall something a little bit for a little extra help here, where when I was a younger panther, it was just, the old street urchin thing where you would play what they called hot potato. And hot potato was always throwing stuff, and mostly stuff that was stolen from other people, obviously. So we would pick purses and things like that. But you would just, pass it back and forth between a bunch of the other street kids. So throwing stuff, not my best asset, but it is something that in a pinch, I know I can make sure I land perfectly. So let's give it a shot. That's 4 successes.
Damn, nice.
All the way over here. Yeah.
All right. So
Right
now
in
I'm
the
burning the core of the ship. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a panic. Some people are pointing at you, but some people are pointing over there. There's another shake, and as you guys are coming out, a horrible thing happens because a gauss of flame just comes behind you, and there were several guards there, and they just disappear in the gauss of flame as the ground is shaking, and the building is trying to contain the explosion, but what happens is it just focuses out.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's total panic everywhere, and guards are coming in, and even hear some shots in the air as guards are trying to shoot in the air to try to control people, but it's pandemonium. So now it's
the bucket and the sling, by the way.
Yeah, it's time to run. Now, you might have to do another presence in order to avoid getting crushed in the panic.
Okay, I'll go ahead and handle that. And this time, still not better, but that's still a 6, and that's still mostly outclasses people. Let's see how they roll. Maybe I will have to use my personality. Man.
Yeah, you're outclassing people. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, if they can only roll d6, that was not very likely for them. So yeah, so I'm shouting everyone out of my way to get you to
Yeah, the
get through
fire
before it
spreading.
goes.
You start seeing fire spreading from the ship. You keep running. You keep running. One of the people that help you get in sort of pats in the back, and when they're running, like, good job, and just they're running, and it's a shit show. There's fires everywhere. You see other fire spreading some of the ship because somebody dropped something, but since people are panicking, right, and it has a sort of this effect that just keep people getting more and more scared. Eventually, yeah, you manage to get into the town, which is over the ship, right? So, and the hill up on top of it, and you can see from there the seat of their destruction.
Yeah, I imagine since the whole place is wood, everyone's under panic and they're not going to get under control. The whole thing might just go up in flames.
Yeah, and eventually you hear a final rumble, and you even see a part of like the side of the hill sort of collapse as the armory just exploded and just collapsed onto itself. That stops the fire from spreading from it, but it also completely destroyed it. So there's that.
So we destroyed their gunpowder stock and the
Mhm.
ship.
Yes.
I'd chalk that as a win.
Yeah, the armory also had their workshop too, with everything they were fixing, repairing, or building. So it's like,
You should have looked to see if they had plans for the ship, like a blueprint or something that we could steal.
I'll tell them to make it bigger.
I'm just saying, like, let's just go the full espionage, steal these plans, destroy them, and then like use the ships against them.
I think this might be more than enough for one day, though. I'll just take a sip of tea and go, didn't spill any.
Let me get a proper fire going. We don't have.
Oh dear.
We don't have animated. I don't have access to animated fire gifts. That's the problem.
Aw,
okay.
well, that's okay.
I can see it in my mind.
It's as glorious as I wished it to be. What a wonderful Inferno we have.
The only thing I'm worried about is, like, did any innocent people get hurt or killed that we know of?
You saw people getting trampled. You saw people probably catch on fire, right?
All right. As I run out, do I actually notice anybody that is like hurt or injured that I can just drag with me out of the place?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I grab like one person that's like actually injured, and I lift them up and I get them out of there. At the very least, I don't want innocent people to actually die because we're like burning down like an enemy ship here. You know what I mean?
Of course, very heroic.
It's hard
no
to
idea what you mean.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to.
It's hard, man. It's hard, man. Harmon.
I get it.
So you're out out of harm's way. You're seeing the fires and everything, and people are coming. And now you start seeing slowly but surely bucket brigades, and mostly with dirt and sand. This is had to do with gunpowder. But it's gonna take a while for them to get everything in control. You destroy your targets. Yes. You also destroy their armory, and you probably damage or delayed work in other ships as well.
And the food's getting repossessed at this point, which I think is probably what we're going to cover after, like, I'm done sipping my tea going, if only there was a powerful fire mage around that could stop the fires. Shame.
Yeah.
So the next goal obviously is to check in on the food and see like how that's moving along, because this is as big of a distraction as there ever could be.
Oh yeah,
if that's moving along, then we could probably just go ship right back to the ship.
Yeah, you make contact with the Society of Plenty, and they tell you they managed to get a good portion of the food, and they sent some. You told them where your ship was, and they're sending carts loads of them, there as well. So yeah, you're gonna have a full haul. A full haul, yes, by the time they're
Wonderful,
done.
wonderful. So I'll definitely give them my thanks again, and I will suggest we all just join up on one of these carts and head out with them, because we probably don't want to be in town much longer. Let's be honest.
And in order to cover the tracks, the Brotherhood, the Society of Plenty actually blows up the silos.
Oh Jesus!
Oh yeah. Hey, they
Yeah,
also accomplished our other objective for us. Wonderful.
because what happens is, while you take most of the grain out, there's still powder there, and that's what's explosive. And
Got
so
to make it
basically-
seem as if it all went up in flames.
Yeah, and the silos basically collapse on themselves because they're made mostly out of brick.
Yeah. Airborne powders are very explosive. That you often get fires in mills. Where
Yep, exactly what we're using here.
Yeah. So basically, they can chalk that up as being part of the whatever happened in the
Yeah, it's okay. Just blame me.
yeah. I'm sure somebody who actually knows about how fire works would go like, no, this is that's a separate incident, but it'll take a while for somebody to figure it out.
Hmm.
And
we
as
got
you're
a
walking,
That fire
Go ahead.
can't melt those steel beams.
Oh. Oh God.
Fire can't melt wooden beams.
yeah. So you have accomplished your mission, and as you're walking away, you see the flames, and it goes afternoon into the evening. The light behind you as you go north in order to go to where there is, and there's a little old lady who's waiting for you, Gregory.
It's girlfriend.
Auntie.
Oh, I see that you managed to make quite a ruckus down at the shipyard. It's unfortunate, isn't it?
Ah, it's true, it's true. But just look at that glorious sunset over there. Really fills your heart with warmth to see it, doesn't it?
Well, we're pretty warm for some people over there. Sad that some people had to go up in flames. Life is short like it is. Very sad.
It is a war. The sooner it's over, the better for everyone.
I will make sure that most of this food gets to the people they are needed without the interference of certain players and preachers, as it is. And it looks vaguely at the direction of Brother Rafferty, who is there but not really there.
Yeah,
He's painted in the background. It's like,
of course. It's good to know, and this should sustain some of the people on the other isles for at least a short while. We're not a very big boat, but it'll do.
we don't exactly do. If you ever find yourselves in this corner of the world, be sure to look up Auntie. I'll have more tea for you. Maybe some biscuits next time. Now that we have grain.
Sounds like a wonderful bit of lunchtime tea for us then.
Yeah.
Until next time, Auntie.
Auntie.
Oh dear.
Oh boy.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Ah, wonderful.
Hmm.
Oh.
And turns to Duncan and says, "And you, my boy, you seems to be very resourceful, or so they tell me.
I try, madam, and I give her a very curtsy bow.
Some other naughty boys would have been caught very easily. But you managed to do your thing, as they say, very efficiently. Perhaps one day, when this is all over, and Auntie has a need for someone to, I don't know, do some errands, perhaps. You might want to check in on old Auntie. Who knows? I might have something for you. I always like to take care of people. Take care of me. It's the way of the world.
We are very similar in that way, where I do enjoy taking care of people as well, Auntie.
To hear. Well then,
I smile.
I won't delay you anymore. My aching bones. Boys, would you carry me to the chariot, please? Thank you. And they kind of help her in the back. It's like, well, goodbye. Goodbye, boys.
Till
Have
next
a nice
time.
drive. Aye. And they sort of, you hear the clup clup of the cursor as the wheels of all
Flippity
way. So,
floppity.
yeah. And so you have accomplished destruction of the ship. And where are you gonna go now? You're gonna go back to Cair Corwin?
I think so. That's going to be our destination. We've fulfilled our orders. We're going to go back, and we've accomplished our secondary objective as well. I think this has all been a wonderful excursion, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
And as you go back and you have food and it gets unloaded, and you see that the main shipyards of your side have been repaired quite a bit, have been cleared. Now there's no ships there. There's more cannon. There's more ballista protecting the place. There's more people working on the defenses just in case. But they unload the food, which is put under guard very quickly because people are desperate. And you also receive a missive to the Lady Chamberlain.
Of course, never a moment of rest from her.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose I ought to go ahead and give a debrief. And Spencer and Duncan, you're free to do as you wish, or even come and be bored with me, as you wish.
Duncan is going to take this time to... well, he's going to take this time to make sure he gets a message out to his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Put it that way. I haven't figured out where she would be living. I would presume probably near Cair Corwin.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know exactly. So we could probably talk about that after the session. Okay. But he's probably going to set up a message just to send to her that he's okay, all this stuff. He's also going to send a lovely new ring to her, one that she doesn't have to know that I stole it from a priest, but she can sell it if she wants. And we'll figure that out later.
Okay.
And then after that, I guess I'll just walk the streets and see what's going
on. So yeah, let's start at the briefing with the Lady Chamberlain, and she looks haggard, tired,
getting enough sleep.
I wish. So you bring me good news, I hope.
Double the amount of good news as usual.
Is that so? Go ahead.
I'm sure you'll be happy to know that their latest and greatest ship is nothing but cinders now, as well as a substantial amount of their gunpowder, cannons, and other useful items. Most of the dock was probably about to go up into flames until it sunk underground.
I see.
So there's quite a bit less to worry about these days, fortunately. And in other good news as well, you may have heard that we've just come back with a hole full of grain as well. The rest of it on the island is also up in flames. There's nothing to worry about there.
I'm sure they get new shipments, but this slows them down.
Indeed.
People will suffer without the grain, but it's the way of war. We certainly need it for ourselves. Our granaries are growing lower every day, and the harvest we may have another failed harvest this year.
Still, it's one small victory and something to celebrate against, I suppose, the previous attacks we've had. Any sort of little bit of morale we can keep, I think, is essential. Speaking of morale, how's the southern island holding up?
We had an impasse. We landed our troops, and it appears that some of the barons that are nominally with the prince have turned tide and joined the rebels. Not many of them. But now, essentially, the Southern Isle is in a civil war of its own. One force reinforcing the other. I heard some clashes at sea. We're trying to blockade the Eastern Isle, the rebel bastion. But they set up a convoy section. Apparently, they have ships from the backers escorting their ships. And technically speaking, we're not at war with anybody in Calabria. So by flying their flag, we have to let them pass. We can board them, we can check them to see if they have any contraband, but food, it's hard to say that it is contraband. Weapons, yes. Mere cargo, people visiting, etc. Well, at least for now, it passes muster. At least for now.
Indeed. And it's unlikely that they'll ever fly the flag of war themselves. This is their proxy war.
Yes.
And I suppose all the tactics and naval excursions are a little bit beyond even my own studies. I'd probably have a headache going over all of it. But I suppose suffice to say, good to hear it's not all bad news.
Talking about something that may be up your bailiwick.
Oh, another fire?
Not quite. The Prince Savior has arrived, and he wishes an audience with you.
Oh, he does. I'll have to go say hello to the young prince then.
Yes.
It's good to hear he had a safe journey.
He seems to be able to. He was very impressed with the performance. Now, I've heard that it was a sharp but bloody battle. Lost some people there.
A volley of muskets will do that to a fight. But I'll definitely put it onto my agenda. I'll see when he's willing to accept. I'll send a missive back.
Yeah.
And what of you here? Anything else been pressing on your mind?
Keeping the orders, keeping our investigation going about the other conspiracy, but so far they have grown very quiet. That worries me. Worries me quite a bit.
It worries me as well. Every single time this man rears his head, he pops up for but a moment and then disappears entirely. We have no way to really anticipate what he's doing yet, or any lead into his own organization. If we had any means to predict him, at the very least we could hold off some of the damages. Until then, I guess we're at his mercy.
Yeah. And now we'll have to split the magistrates between the war efforts and this investigation and everything else they have to do. There's been called to, say, add more to the numbers, but I'm weary of adding fresh recruits at a time like this, people that we don't trust.
Indeed.
Make us vulnerable.
I remember it was quite a long process, and I had to prove quite a few things. I can imagine that'll take some time. I'm not sure I could quite help on the recruitment front, though. Other than to continue working. No vacation for me yet, I suppose.
You might take a couple of days before the prince summons you. He is up in the castle with his uncle, getting acquainted. I don't know when he might be returned. Him and his mother returned to reclaim his crown, but it may be a while.
I see. Perhaps I will take that break then. I have a few singed furs I have to deal with, and maybe now would be the proper time to update my will.
Well.
And of course, I'm going to leave you another fine share of wine in it.
Maybe next time around I will drink it if I do.
I'll take like a look over to the bottle. It's collecting dust there.
Yeah, she's using it as a paperweight, basically. Yeah, and she
It'll open one day.
Yeah, one day. Duncan, you are basically on the streets right now, and the mood here is apprehensive. Whatever hopes of a quick war or a quick battle have faded with news from the south. Of course, news travels very slowly, and so there's no news of specifics battles. I mean, one of the things you start seeing is because there's printing presses, you start seeing a lot of broadsheets papered everywhere, right?
A lot of what? Sorry?
Broadsheets.
Okay.
And not quite newspapers yet, but broadsheets. And so you have one person basically reads it to the rest of the group that assembles. And a lot of the stuff is just speculation, right? You have experts talking about battles and tactics and whatnot, but with very, very little in the form of actual information. Probably know more about what's going on because you have been more or less in the action than any of us. No news of what you did in the Eastern Isle has come up yet.
Wow, it's like medieval Twitter.
Yeah, basically. For every piece of information that could be considered to be actual news. There's entire pages of speculation and rumor and happenstance and criticism. Everybody's a critic. Everybody's like, oh no, the next thing they should do this and they should do that. And like, and these people are just sort of stunned by it, basically.
Yeah. Of the broadsheets, which one is the most how do I want to play this? Which one is the most inaccurate of the ones I've read so far?
One is called the Triskelion Times.
Triskelion Times.
And that one is often basically what you find is that people tend to rip it, and so they basically put in a door or something like that. People just sort of rip it in half. So you most of the time you find like the upper part. People don't seem to like that one. Perhaps because the owners, whoever is printing them, has chose a poor title for it or poor name for it. One thing that you know is there's a lot of negative. You always know that people from Calabria were always suspects as foreigners, but now a lot of the anger is being channeled. In fact, one of the things you see in the other broadsheets is that there's a basically newspaper war, and they're scapegoating the Triskelion Times, right? As accusing them of empty propaganda, because the few things that you read about it is that they have a vow called peace, and the king should extend the hand of peace to his brother, and maybe he should reach out to the church, etc. It's very, very pro sort of a pro
Calabria
kind of thing. And as you're probably reading one of the papers that have been thrown out, you see in the marketplace, you see a group of people accosting one of the vendors, who is a fox. Like, get out of here! Get out of here, you Calabrian whore! We don't want you around here. And they're sort of like, get back! And it seems it's her and some of her children, elder children, sort of like pushing back, and they try to pick up their stuff and leave. And the other merchants are sort of put some distance between us, so it's like 5 to 10 people there, and it's her and 2 of her other sons. And they hurry up, like cleaning up the stall to be able to get their stuff and get out, right? But see, more people are congregating. Some of the city guard come in and they start sort of breaking up the situation. But there are like 2 or 3 of them versus and they seem to be more half-hearted, right? They're doing more like, they're not really trying to break it up. They're kind of making sure it doesn't spread. They're going through the motions. They're not really interested in actually helping this lady actually protect her goods and livelihood. They're more like, we don't want this to sort of spread and have like a riot, rather, So clearly the anti foreigner sentiment is very strong. Before you were wondering where people were going to go. Now it's being focused on the foreigner. They're getting scapegoated into this, right?
That's not necessarily a good thing, unfortunately. The Triskelion Times, does it have an author? Like an author for the articles at all? That maybe
one Anton.
Named Anton?
Just Anton. And to you it seems Anton de Fleur is the way he writes his name. But that seems like a nom de plume, right?
It's probably a pen name.
Pen name, not necessarily his real name. And Anton is a very rare name here. It's very much foreign, so and the Fleur, it's just icing on the cake, right? So that's not the local language, certainly.
Yeah, something to keep in mind then.
Yeah, there's and you see that basically all the printing presses are going. In fact, you see when you're walking, you see it open for a new printing press. So that seems to be something that these broadsheets seem to be very popular, even though they don't contain a lot of actual information. There's people just want to read, people that can read, or they want to cycle these stories, right? It's a fascination with stories about the battles, and which are weeks old, days old, weeks old, depending on how close they are, and and all this analysis that doesn't go anywhere, speculation, right? And there's like half a dozen, but more like a dozen or more. There's probably more. And some people, you see young people like spring, like here, the news, you read all about it. You know, that kind of thing.
I give them like the penny bits or whatever it is for the papers, so I could collect a couple of these. I just kind of want to see where the people are and all this right now. You also gave me an idea, which I didn't think of, but I think I might actually do this now. You said there's people out in the streets printing stuff immediately, like like right on the fly, right there.
Yeah. Like you see that the doors to many of these printers are open because they're printing and putting stacks and the way either they sell them, they spread them out like pamphlets, or they nail them to a door or something like that. That's the way it's done.
Well, I think I got an idea then, but I want to read through like some of the papers I got first just to gauge where we all are with all these. You gave me the worst one. I'm curious what the most pro I guess the pro Isles press would be.
Yeah, very much anti Transylvanian and anti foreigner. Very much painting every battle as being won or to be won, right? That the great forces of the new High King will, and it's also recurring a reinforcement of the idea that now everything's going to be better, right? The idea that the king's the land is king, and therefore the chosen follower, right, of the old king, which this one is the old king was great and celebrating his accomplishments and stuff like that. There's a curious thing that you find is that there's a sort of second article, and that is calling for this is the time for having universal schooling.
Universal what?
Schooling.
Ooh.
They're calling upon the king that to stem the tide of treason and wrong thoughts. We must educate all of our children
crap.
In the ways of the Isles, our history, our traditions, and it is time for everyone to learn to write and read before foreign ideas, unfiltered, damage the mind of the young and turn father against son and daughter against mother and sibling against each other.
And what paper is this specifically?
This is called the marching band.
The marching band?
Yeah.
Damn, they're going like full on freaking like nationalist fascist here. Oh dear. Okay.
I mean, universal basically schools, they're setting up a public school system would be a good idea, but what they're looking at, what they're pushing it. And you also see a little bit of an anti-Sumerian tinge as well, because the Sumerian church is the one that really does most of the schooling, right? Either nobles, there's university, but that's for people. There's people who have money, right? And most of the schooling, the principal schooling is done either by people who join the church, or maybe they're recruited as a mage, or as somebody who is a wizard, or somebody who has tutors, right? And these people are people who are rich, lucky or rich, right? And there's also a bit as well, because you basically get stacks of it as people have different days.
Yeah.
There's also some suspicion about the independent mages, wizards. I mean, where are the wizards of the land? Where are they? Right? There's a question of where they're going to fall. So you see a very lively discussion about different subjects when they're not talking about the war. Right?
This is all in the marching band.
It's in the marching band and in some others as well. Right?
Okay.
But the marching band is going for very patriotic, very nationalistic, and very much about preventing foreign evils and foreign thoughts and ideas and contamination of the mind and soul of the youth, particularly. Yeah.
Can I? I'm not actually. I probably what is like the history of magic in the Isles? I know it's like has a druid tradition, and I know Griffin is a mage basically.
Elementalist. Yep.
From
college.
The way it works is that it actually has three traditions. You have the Druidic tradition, which is the older religious magical tradition.
Uh-huh.
You have the newer tradition, which is the sort of study, which actually comes from Calabria, right? Which is universities and official recognition, of mages, and they get not licensed, but they usually get government jobs, like Griffin, who became a magistrate. And then
Yeah.
you have independents. The independents are literally the wizard in the tower type of like
The hedge
Twilight
wizards.
Imperium. Yeah, hedge. None, but these people actually tend to be. They go from hedge wizards to being very important people, right? They have their own little domains. They have their towers. They have, but they're almost like independent philosophers, right? And they carry their own studies. And there's a tension between the three. Usually, the independents try to side with the college mages and vice versa. But there's a distrust of the independent mage. But there's also a bit of a distrust as well of the educated mage because of those connections with Columbia.
Yeah.
Although it's not as strong as people don't automatically assume that a mage is a foreigner. They don't make that assumption. But magic for the common person is like, oh, that can be pretty dangerous. Somebody can set something on fire or mess with someone's mind. It's a bit of a distrust there. And what people really trust is the religious tradition of the Druids.
Yes.
And now with the new king, he is very much a traditionalist, and he supports and is supported by the Druids apparently.
Yeah. That's actually interesting. All right. I'm going to take all this stuff, all these papers. I'm probably going to read through them because I actually do have literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually want to talk to Griffin about this because I have an idea.
Okay. Griffin, you're basically given leave to go back to your manor, which you haven't visited in weeks. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm probably back at my manor, talking with the family, seeing how they're doing, making sure they're okay, and maybe even just slightly gloating about like, oh yeah, I've been doing really important stuff. How have you been doing? Oh, you made that much money? Oh, wow. Yeah, I've been doing really well.
I mean, when you come through the door, your sister is waiting with a stack of letters, and she goes like, "These are yours. Here you go.
Where's the table? I can't see it.
Official business.
Only official business, I see. And what'd you do with the love letters? Are they burned too this time?
And she has she's like, and she takes out from her coat. She takes her letter. Like, you mean this one?
Yes, I mean that one.
And she sort of puts it. Are you someone who's you're very tall, right?
Yeah,
you're very tall. But she's not as tall, but she tries to do the thing where she keeps it out of your hands. But you can.
Yeah, and I'm probably just like being very playful. It's like holding the letters in one hand, trying to like snatch it with like my jaw, and the other one's I'll get it.
Do an observation roll for me.
Sure.
Observation, yeah.
I got only 2d6. That one.
You think that it might have been tampered with? Like somebody might have taken their claw and just carefully opened it, but you're not really sure. It's that feeling that you get that somebody already read this, right? But you're not really sure. You look at her, and she looks at you. It's like,
now for like taking another peek, huh? I'll just move straight to accusations.
It's covered in arsenic. You catch it in your mouth. Congratulations.
Oh dear. Well, you're dead.
Well, mother is calling, so business.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
Just flee from the crime, so I don't. No, I'm not gonna stop her.
Yeah. And your mother comes around, your father comes around. If your father's around, they talk to you. Do you regale them with stories of your heroics and the like, or you?
Oh, absolutely. I'll go. It's like, oh yes, I'm doing such great work out there. I'm out there with my companions and telling them like how heroic everyone is and all that stuff. I'm trying to impress them and keep them happy, of course.
Your father, as always, puts a face of like, yes, whatever. But your mother is like, you can see her face sort of well up as she's proud of her son, right?
Yeah,
she doesn't want to show. She doesn't want to show that she's scared because you're doing dangerous work, but she's proud. And he's
of course, and maybe even like because I know my audience, I'm probably like downplaying the danger. So it's like, oh yeah, I was perfectly safe the whole time. There was a horde of people with shields in front of me and all that.
Eventually, after a while, your father, asks you to his study. It's like, Gregory, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So, you didn't tell the truth to your mother because you don't want to worry her. But I really need to know as much as you can tell me what's going on. The news that we get here is outdated at most, and the rest is just pitiful rumor. I worry for you, my son. I really do.
I can assure you, I take just as much worry in my own safety. But if you just want the news of what's going on, well, it's full-blown civil war at this point, quite honestly. There's a lot of maneuvering right now, I think. But not a lot of full engagements. I think they'll probably amp up to them soon, though.
We're in a difficult situation with our trade. We do some trade with Calabria, and that is being interrupted, which means we're not making as much coin as we wish. We have our reserves, of course. We live within our means. I always stress to your father, my father, your grandfather, my great-grandfather always said, money is good as long as you know how to spend it. And so we have not stretched ourselves too thin. We have money for a while. You don't have to worry about that. But this
That's good to know.
We this to continue. Now we would have to lean more and more on your connections. I don't wish to do so, son. I know you work very hard for what you have accomplished, even if it seems it comes with all the flair and posturing that you're so good at.
Well, if anything, all the flair and posturing at least is helping me with the connections. If nothing else, once our High King's reign is secure, you should be well and in business and in a favorable face as well.
Glad to hear it. And your man Harmon is keeping you safe as well. You came
Of course.
back.
I trust him with my life, and he's never let me down. He is truly the greatest of warriors and friend.
Well, that will not take more of your time. I'm sure you have papers to tend to. And
Quite a few, and I'll just wave the loved ones. I think I need to spend some special time.
And you notice that for most of your life, he was a little bit taller, or just the same height as you. But now age is sort of, he's sort of the thing with people on age to start,
he's in the shrinkage phase now.
Yeah, but he's still he's able to see you eye to eye. So he puts his, paw on your shoulder and goes, "Well done, son. I may not always show it, but I'm always been proud of you.
Yeah, and
I always appreciate how you do things. Let me tell you, let's be very clear about that. And I will never hesitate to call you out when it needs to be. I am your father, after all. Always will be. Until the day you die, young one. But I am proud of you."
And of course, I'm just welling up with a little bit of pride. It's like, well, I can share you. I have a few regrets about how I do things sometimes too, but at least I have a solid a figure to look up to for that kind of assurance and guidance. And of course, I'll even extend the. I don't know who I get the dry humor from.
I really hope nothing happens to your father in the future now.
Oh yeah, nothing's definitely going to happen on this story. But yeah, I'll even yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, you have your papers, and it's this typical stuff you have to deal with as a magistrate. Signing warrants. It's a lot of there's a lot of warrants now that you talk about searching places, right? Part of the investigation you're doing. So there's these people you're like, oh, we search this place, and you get a lot of reports that don't really amount to anything. They question this person, they took this other person in, and maybe they found some contraband, but the investigation is really not going anywhere, right? It's frustrating. And then you have a letter from Victoria, and
yes, of course, sealed a little bit.
Yeah, and she's asking you how you are, but it's several pages long, right? The crux of it is that she's saying that things are fine for the moment in the Western Isle, where the High King used to rule, but there's a question of succession there, because traditionally, when one of the kings or anyone takes the position of the High King, but in order to maintain sort of political balance, and she explains it to you in the letter, members of the family are usually not allowed to take that position. Usually
Right,
the
because his family is going to end up having authority over the high throne now, and having them also fight over the lower one here at the same time is probably problematic.
In fact, the old division of having the sons taking positions, right, which has, is not always the case, because what tends to happen is that the High King usually has a council of some sort, like there's the Privy Council in here, or call something else. They're the ones who have to approve of the position, right?
Right.
And she says that for the moment, the Queen is doing fine, holding the fort, but that's still a question to be dealt with in the future. So yeah, and yeah, she's a bit worried that it might bring problems somewhere down the line. But for now, don't worry about it. Everything's cool. Hopefully, she asked questions about what they were doing, and you can send back as much as you want information.
And of course, like, I'm probably going to be writing out my own eventually, and I'm going to of course, again, regaling about adventures, probably leaving about the part about, like, the criminals. No one needs to hear about that. But of course, saying, like, oh yes, wonderful fiery explosions. You could see it on the over the hills and such. And of course, going back and inquiring, like, if how her own work has been going, that she hasn't been, like, overburdened by all of this that's been going on and such.
Yeah. Spencer, you're hanging out while in the state with everyone else, and someone knocks at the front door.
All right, I'll check the door.
And you recognize who it is. It's Dax.
Oh, long time no see, Dax.
Can I come in?
Of course.
Right. Sorry, I've been scarce. I've Can we talk? And it's better if I talk to you first, because if the others find out before they're ready, or I'm ready, it's going to be difficult to say this. Where can we talk?
I assume Spencer has a room he can go to.
Yeah.
Right this way.
Right. And he's nervous. He sort of dances, sort of. He's a cat. And he's like, yes. Well, there is no way to say this without sounding it good or put a positive spin. I'm sure Gregory could put a positive spin on this, but I can't because I'm a traitor.
Pardon me?
You heard me. I'm a traitor. You see, the reason why I was member of the King's Guard was because King Edgar wanted someone to spy on the organization, feel it out. But when I sensed where things were going, I realized that, it was better for me to make myself scarce. But now, my handlers have figured out that I'm not working for them, either because I basically quit the King's Guard, and I'm also not giving them any information, so now they're hunting me for whatever information I have.
This information.
Oh, basically everything that Gregory was doing at any one time, and what we were doing, and everything. So you see, I'm in a bit of a pickle here. I mean, to be honest, if the Lady Chamberlain were to find out, I would be hanging from the next yardarm or rope that she can find. I'm not highborn, so I don't get to be decapitated or exiled. So there's that. I didn't know where else to turn. I'm sure that once I explain everything, Gregory, he might be accommodating. I mean, I was helpful back in the day, which wasn't that long ago. Seems like a lifetime.
Traitors
But
tend to be helpful. That's the thing. When they're not helpful is when the eyes are on them.
yes. So basically, what I'm asking for is for protection. I could help out. I'm willing to help out. I didn't expect this to go at, it was a job. I was getting paid. It seemed harmless at the time, but now things have changed. And so, well, I mean, you would have to talk to Gregory first, because if Harmon were to get his hands on me, I don't think I would survive it.
So you want me to try to tell Gregory about you here without Harmon being around?
Yes.
And while we've gotten distracted and talking, I'm going to thought read him.
Okay.
All right. That's I've been taught to thought read, especially people who are prone to lie,
Mhm.
because they're the ones who are best at defending against such attacks. So I just have to calm myself as I find myself rebuffed and remember the tips of the trade that my master had taught me. So D8. All right, that's a success. And I definitely want to get his innermost thoughts, so I'm going to go for my personality.
Okay.
All right, that's 3 successes. So he just has to roll mind, deceit, and presence and try to beat me.
And he can't beat. He doesn't.
So I got surface slots.
He's worried and scared. So he whatever they're presenting out, that's like, it basically is help me. Oh God, I don't want to die. That's
Trust him to stay where he is while Spencer would go and try to get hold of Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
Gregory's probably up in his study. He's probably like finished up the love letter and sealed that up and waiting to send that out. But he's like probably back to the warrants again. It's like, another investigate this. Did they really have to? Did they get drunk doing this? Well, whatever. I'm signing it anyway. Oh, Spencer. Oh, come in.
Yes. Okay, is Harmon there?
That was where Gregory is.
Yeah, Harmon's probably just in the room. He's probably idle. There's nothing happening. Like, Harmon, do you like just sit down when nothing's happening?
No.
Or you're just constantly standing in at attention?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gregory, there's something you must see. Come with me.
Oh, well, what's that? And I'm already like slowly getting up.
You'll find it to pique your interest.
You're toying with me again. What kind of brandy is it this time?
Blonde.
Blonde. I don't think what's a blonde brandy. I'm just like slowly scratching my chin. I'm literally following you along like a complete idiot.
All right, and would this be negotiation to try to convince him, or is he just following along? And
Oh yeah, I'm totally just following along. Like I have no like issue trusting Spencer like whatsoever. So whatever's happening, I'm literally just going with it.